Shanghai had turned gray again, clouds hanging low, the air soaked with impending rain. But Jerry Yen stood on the rooftop of the same luxury hotel that once connected him to a memory he had tried to bury. He waited, hands in his coat pockets, eyes scanning the skyline that seemed to disappear into fog. He didn't know if she would come. He had sent no message, no call, no formal invitation. Just one thing, *, a small black envelope *, slid silently under her studio door, bearing only a time, a location, and a drawing. A sketch of the rooftop railing. With 2 coffee cups. ***. He hoped she remembered. The wind was picking up. He glanced at his watch. 7:48 p.m. He turned to leave, stomach sinking, but then he heard it. The soft creak of the rooftop door. He turned around. Tong Liya stepped out, hair tousled by the wind, wearing the very same long white coat she wore that night in Venice. Her heels clicked softly against the tiles, but her expression said everything. She remembered. "You kept the sketch?" she asked, voice barely audible above the gust. "I never threw it away." Silence. They stood facing each other, surrounded by the city's glowing night, their silhouettes framed by neon reflections and an impending storm. Jerry stepped closer. "I came here that night after we parted, hoping maybe you'd come." "I did," she whispered. His heart stopped. "You were gone," she continued. "I stood right there, for 2 hours. Thought I was the fool." He looked away, regret burning in his throat. "You weren't the fool, Liya. I was just a coward." She blinked. "Why now, Jerry? Why reach out after all this time?" "Because the moment I almost hit you in that parking lot, I realized how close I came to losing you again. And this time, without warning." Her breath caught. He added, "I can't live with what-ifs anymore." Thunder cracked in the distance. Tong Liya turned toward the railing, leaning on it like she did all those years ago. Jerry walked beside her. She whispered, "Do you remember what I told you the first time we were here?" He nodded. "You said, you wished someone would fight for you." She smiled sadly. "And you said you would, if only the world allowed it." He exhaled, voice tight. "I lied. The truth is, I was just too afraid to fight." She turned to him now, closer than before. "Are you still afraid?" Rain began to fall, slowly, gently, like the sky itself was listening. Jerry took a step closer, and another, until he was right in front of her. Drops rolled down his face, but he didn't move. "I'm terrified," he confessed. "But I'd rather be afraid with you than safe without you." Lightning flashed above. And then, without hesitation, Jerry reached up, cupped her face, and kissed her. It wasn't soft or tentative. It was desperate, crashing, like all the years apart had been building to this moment. Tong Liya melted into him, her hands tangled in his wet jacket, as if anchoring herself in the only thing that ever felt real. They kissed through the rain, through the storm, through every unspoken word they had ever buried. For a moment, the entire world disappeared. It was just them. Just Jerry and Liya, 2 souls finally choosing each other in a world that never gave them the chance. When they finally pulled apart, Jerry rested his forehead against hers, both of them breathless. "What now?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We start over," he replied. "This time without fear. Without hiding." She hesitated. "What about the industry? The pressure? The backlash?" He smiled softly. "Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them drown in noise. I'll take your hand in public or in shadow. I just want to be where you are." A tear mixed with the raindrops on her cheek. "I was always here," she said. "You just had to look." The next morning, the entertainment world exploded. A blurry photo, captured by a drone from an adjacent building, had surfaced. Jerry Yen and Tong Liya kissing in the rain, on a rooftop. #hashtag the rooftop kiss trended worldwide within hours. Memes, edits, and fan art flooded the internet. Journalists went into a frenzy. Some called it a PR stunt. Others claimed it was the realest love story C Entertainment had ever seen. But neither of them said a word. They didn't post. They didn't explain. They simply existed, together, walking hand in hand out of a hotel lobby 2 days later, smiling as if no one else in the world mattered. Because, to them, no one did. The moment Jerry Yen and Tong Liya were spotted exiting that Shanghai hotel hand in hand, all hell broke loose. A sea of paparazzi flooded the driveway. Jerry, are you dating Tong Liya? Liya, what about your image? Is this for a drama promotion or is it real? Questions pelted them like bullets. Security pushed cameras back. Fans screamed. Journalists shoved. The noise was deafening. But Jerry never let go of her hand. He pulled her close, shielding her with his arm. She looked up, eyes locking with his, and in that moment they both knew. They had two options: run or hide. And Jerry, he chose run. 3 hours later, a private jet took off from a quiet hangar in Hangzhou, destination unknown. Only a handful of people knew. Jerry's trusted manager, Liya's assistant, and the pilot, who was told this wasn't a vacation, but a rescue. In the cabin, Tong Liya sat curled up in a soft beige hoodie, legs tucked under her, staring out the window at the moonlit clouds. Jerry watched her from across the aisle. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded slowly, then whispered, "What happens when we land?" He leaned forward. "We disappear. Just for a while." She smiled faintly. And then, we figure out how to fight." The plane touched down just before sunrise on a tiny private island off the coast of Okinawa, so remote it didn't appear on most maps. They were greeted by an elderly couple, caretakers of the only property there, a seaside villa perched on a cliff, surrounded by nothing but ocean, sky, and wind. It was perfect. No cameras. No questions. No pressure. Just them. For the first time in years. Day 1 *. Tong Liya stood barefoot on the beach, waves lapping at her feet, arms outstretched like she was finally breathing again. Jerry watched her from a hammock under a tree, sketching her in his journal. Day 2 *. They cooked breakfast together. She burned the eggs. He teased her. She threw flour at him. They ended up laughing until their stomachs hurt. Day 3 *. They danced in the rain. No music. No choreography. Just raw, improvised movements that came from the heart. His hands on her waist. Her forehead pressed against his. Day 4 *. They finally talked about everything. Venice. The abandoned film. The pain. The silence. And when it was all said and cried out, she whispered, "I would have chosen you. Every time." He replied, "Then let's stop choosing anyone else." Back in China, the media had reached a fever pitch. Some fans were ecstatic, calling it the greatest love story of the decade. Others were furious. Tong Liya trended with hashtags like #homewrecker, #famechaser, #scandalqueen. Jerry was accused of orchestrating it all for relevance. Brands paused contracts. Production houses pulled back. Management teams went silent. But then, something shifted. On day 6 of their escape, a letter surfaced on Weibo. Handwritten. Photographed. Signed, Tong Liya. "This isn't a PR stunt. This isn't for a role. This is for me. For once in my life, I chose not what looked perfect on the outside, but what felt right inside. I chose peace. I chose truth. I chose him." The post went viral in under 2 hours. Millions of likes. Tens of thousands of shares. Fans began switching sides. Celebrities commented in support. Female empowerment pages hailed her as a modern legend. The narrative had flipped. Jerry's response came 2 hours later. A video. Black and white. No music. Just him, in a quiet room, speaking directly into the camera. "You've seen my smile. You've seen my movies. But you've never seen my heart. It belongs to her." Mic drop. After 10 days in hiding, Jerry and Liya returned. Not in disguise. Not in secret. They walked into a Beijing cafe on a Tuesday afternoon like two ordinary people. Holding hands. No guards. No entourage. And the strangest thing happened. No one shouted. No one chased. No one interrupted. Asterisk asterisk. They were just there. A young fan at a nearby table stared, mouth open, phone trembling in her hands. Liya turned to her and smiled. "It's okay. You can say hi." The girl burst into tears and whispered, "Thank you for showing us what love really looks like." That night, Jerry pulled out a folder and placed it on the table between them. A new script. He looked at her and said, "This time, we don't need producers to write our story." She opened it. The first page. A scene set on a rooftop. Rain falling. Two people, finally choosing each other. She smiled. And for the first time in a very long time, so did he.